Well, next we have the final game shown at the Summer Games Fest, Resident Evil Requiem, aka Resident Evil
Hmm.
9. Um, and they did the most annoying fake out on the face of the planet Earth. It was clear that they were lying because they had the voice actress who plays Lady Dimitrescu dress up and record like a whole like in a set like a very well produced video advertising a huge Resident Evil franchise or Capcom sale, not even just Resident Evil. And it's like there's no fucking way they had her dress up like that just for that. There's also a game coming,
Right.
but the goddamn producer came out and said, "Nope. Well, we're working on Resident Evil 9." He said that, but we'll tell you more at a later date. And then, of course, at the very end, they showed it, and it was clear as day what it was from the beginning because the RE engine has such a specific look. The moment you
It
see a
does,
character's face and you see hair, that's how you know it's the RE engine. Because I saw that character's
for
face,
sure.
she turned around and I saw her hair, and I was like, "This is Resident Evil." If it's not
Yeah.
Resident Evil, it's a Capcom game at the very least.
Mhm.
But of course, it was Resident
With
Evil.
like the colors and all of it, like yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like we'll be returning to Raccoon City after the bombing that took place in Resident Evil's 2 and 3. And the game
Hmm.
releases relatively soon on February 27th. The reason I said Onimusha definitely isn't coming out early next year. It's coming out probably like mid next year. Um, so what did you think of the trailer?
I thought the trailer was really neat. The like I like you said, as soon as it started, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally Resident Evil. I mean, it was in the title when you sent it to me, but like I can see why there was like no minced words or anything like when it came to like watching it in the actual Game Awards. My only thing is I don't like the title. I don't like I get how it fits thematically, but I wish it I was like spitballing like what a Resi 9 would be called with like Sean and Christian in the office the other day, and we had come up with some banger ideas, and I'm a little disappointed that they did not like I don't know. I just feel like there could have been some better wordplay than Requiem, but it fits
Well, yeah,
thematically,
yeah,
I
I think that's
suppose.
because it depends on what the story is going to be. They can't just make it a
Yeah.
like a thing that just puns off of 9, but also they wanted to fit 9 in there somehow, just like they did with the last game, where it's like it's Resident Evil 8,
Right.
but it's just called Resident Evil Village, but the VIL also looks like the Roman numeral for 8.
Right.
And with this, the Q looks like a 9 sometimes. Uh,
Yeah, I guess they could have done something more clever, but it looks really good,
which,
and I'm kind of excited to play it.
but yeah, so some people got hands on with the game at Summer
Ooh.
Games Fest. It seems like what the what they were shown was the main character, who I need to look them up real quick. Grace Ashcroft, the main character of this game, or one of the main characters of this game. Um, they're playing as her. There's a scene in the trailer where she's like upside down, attached to some type
Mhm.
of machinery, and the game starts there, and or at least this demo starts there, and you get off and you're
Mhm.
sneaking around, and you start getting chased by this giant monster through this hospital. Um, and a lot of people have described it as playing very similar to Alien Isolation. Also, it's first person, like Resident
Mhm.
Evil 8 and
Ooh.
7. Um, but once they get towards the end of the demo, and was specifically a demo they didn't play, they showed them a demo, then they let them play it. And at the end of the part that they were just showing them, they went into the settings and then changed it to third person. So this game will have both
Mm.
first and third person, which of course
Banger.
was added in Resident Evil Village as an update late in its life cycle. So Resident Evil 8 wasn't made with that in mind from the beginning, but Resident Evil 9 seemingly has been. So it presumably won't be as janky as it was with Resident Evil 8. And from what people have seen, it already is less janky. Um,
Mm.
but also, they recommend in the settings which perspective to use for certain segments of the game. And in the demo they were playing, when they went to change it, it said recommended first person, which is cool. I hope that it's
Mhm.
easier to change than having to go into a menu. I hope it can be done with the press of a button,
Yeah, that
because
would be really
I feel
cool.
like having to go into a menu to do it would just make it too cumbersome for me to cure to do it every single time, I would just keep it third person and then play it a second time in first person. But if I could go back and forth,
Mm.
I would go back and forth all the time. Like I said, the people got hands on. Um, and a lot of people, well, I was afraid after hearing about the game, from what Max Dude said, that it might end up being more of a run and hide horror game than
Ooh.
all the other Resident Evil games. I was like, I don't like those type of horror games. That's why I like Resident Evil, because it's not that. You shoot stuff. I like shooting things in my horror games. But like right before, or right after he showed the trailer, Jeff Keighley did say the game marks a bold shift for the franchise in both tone and gameplay. And today's reveal isn't just about survival horror. Expect high stakes cinematic action too. So there will still be the classic Resident Evil action. So it would
Mhm.
be weird if it wasn't there. And
Yeah.
I was a little bit afraid of it, but never like really convinced that they would get rid of that. Um, so Max Dude theorizes that we will likely play as multiple characters, and that Grace will
Mhm.
have more stealth segments while other characters will be more action oriented. And
Right.
the Sphere Hunter theorizes that the main character was captured by, or was captured to be experimented on to create a cure to the many zombie viruses within the Resident Evil universe, because
Mhm.
she's the daughter of a character from Resident Evil Outbreak, which is a game that
Mm.
where you can choose to play as various different characters during the outbreak in Raccoon City, and one of them is
Mhm.
her mother. And this essentially, when you play the game, only one of the characters can survive, the one that you play as, and this is pretty much making it to where
Mm.
presumably her mother is the canon survivor of that game, and
Got
in the game
you.
she's infected but creates a cure. Um, and maybe that cure has passed down to Grace, her daughter, and
Mm.
she's now
Mhm.
being kidnapped to be used to make a cure. And now she has to be rescued by like Leon or Jill or both or something like that. Because I don't imagine you go back
Right.
to Resident Evil and you don't bring back the characters or go back to Raccoon City and don't bring back the characters in those original games that take place in Raccoon City. So either we're going to
Mhm.
see, I think it's more, we've seen Chris a lot lately. Chris showed up at the end of Resident Evil 7. You
Right.
and you can play as him in the DLC of Resident Evil 7. He shows up in Resident Evil 8, and you also play as him in Resident Evil 8. So I feel like it's either going
Mm.
to be Leon, Jill, or Claire, or all three, or all four with also Chris, because those are the four
Mm.
characters that were in Raccoon City,
City. Right.
and it would make sense. Whether or not you play as all of them, I don't know. But also Ada, and she's still alive, so whether or not
Mm.
you play as
Mhm.
all of them, who knows? But they'll probably show up. And there's some other characters that were in
Right.
Raccoon City that survived that could show up too. Um, so yeah, there was also a rumor a while ago that we talked about that the next Resident Evil game would be open world or semi-open world, and this could be
Ooh.
that because we see a lot of sweeping shots of the city, making it feel like that
Sure.
they're hinting at the fact that you'll be exploring the bombed out Raccoon City, which would be
Which is
cool.
exciting to think about.
Sphere Hunter also
Mhm.
pointed out that Grace wears motorcycle boots, so maybe that's a mode of transportation in the game. Um,
Ooh.
I'm excited. The game comes
Very
out,
exciting.
like I said, relatively soon in February. Early next year. We're halfway through this year,
Mhm.
and they're probably going to show more in a couple months. So I'm excited. And they always something I love about Capcom. They love to release a demo. So
Mhm.
eventually, we're going to be able to play it a couple months before the game comes out. I imagine late this year we'll probably get some hands on.
Mhm.